your medicine, your food. Blend up your carrot with the lettuce in a juice. No afraid to mix the vegetable with the fruits.
As Chronics and Hippocrates urge, in today's edition of Jamaica magazine, we're looking at practical ways to stay healthy by eating the right foods and making important lifestyle changes. Also on the pages, the burden of obstructive lung disease bold survey project that's now taking place across the island. Learn about that important initiative. Plus, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller led a team to the 2015 Caribbean Energy Security Summit in Washington, D.C. recently. Learn how that went. It's also Reggae Month, so stay jamming with us. We start things off with this important message, followed by the news.
If you not get it, you will lose. Make your food be your medicine, your food. Blend up your carrot with the lettuce in a juice. No afraid to mix the vegetable with the fruits.
Know your numbers and control the keys to a healthier heart. Know the numbers for your blood pressure, cholesterol level, blood glucose level, and your weight and body mass index. Give yourself a fighting chance. Find out the risks they represent and what you need to do to stay healthy. Talk to your doctor and start making healthy lifestyle choices to prevent a heart attack or stroke.
Good day, I'm Stacey Ann Smith, and this is your GIS News for Tuesday, February 10. With about a month to go before the deadline for tax returns, Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ is encouraging business owners and self-employed persons to take advantage of its taxpayer assistance program. TAJ has been holding a series of sessions to guide persons through the process of filling out the new self-employed annual return and revised income tax forms. The deadline for filing is March 15. Speaking on GIS TV's Issues and Answers, TAJ Communication Officer Leighton Beckles said more than 100 sessions had been scheduled at TAJ offices across the island.
It gives us a way of interacting with our clients and our clients to interact with us in a brand new way, in a way that makes it so much easier to do business.
Persons wishing to access the schedule of sessions may click on jamaicatax.gov.jm or call 1-888-TAX-HELP for dates and locations. Jamaicans are being urged to support the government's fiscal policy, which has been largely successful. Speaking on GIS TV's Issues and Answers, economist Dr. Andre Horton said the administration had been doing a good job and the public should expect to see increasing gains over time. Dr. Horton reasoned that though the impact may not be immediate, improvements in the island's economic standing would be felt in the medium to long term.
What is happening is that if the indicators improve, it improves the potential of the country to move towards better services, because what it will do, it will free up other monies, free up fiscal policy, free up the government in terms of how much they can really inject into the economy.
Under the economic reform program, the country has recorded reductions in the balance of payments, inflation, and the rate of depreciation of the Jamaican currency. In the meantime, there is more good news from the tourism sector. All the main cruise ports on the island have recorded an increase in arrivals for 2014, pushing cruise shipping arrivals to over 1.4 million visitors, an overall increase of 12.5%.
Falmouth saw an increase of 19.5% over 2013, or 125,000 additional visitors, while cruise arrivals in Ocho Rios grew by 7.7%. Montego Bay recorded an increase of about 1% in additional visitors over 2013.
With an increase in cruise shipping arrivals coupled with steady growth in stopovers, the country recorded more than 3.5 million visitors in 2014. The Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Task Force, MOCA, has extended its lottery scamming prevention campaign into schools. Sensitization sessions were held recently at 4 schools in Montego Bay under the theme, Lottery Scamming is a Crime. Stop it before it stops you. MOCA representative Corporal Kevin Watson says the campaign will run for 7 weeks and will point students to a viable and legal alternative to lottery scamming.
This is really an intervention or an approach, a proactive approach that we are using to curb lottery scamming through social development. Because if we can get children to understand that lottery scamming is wrong and that it is a crime, right, then we will be starting a change.
Participating schools included Glendevon Primary and Infant, Salt Spring Primary, Green Pond Primary and Albion Primary Schools. Corporal Watson said the schools targeted are those considered most likely to be affected by the scourge. Meanwhile, plans are in place to expand the island's 27-year-old Neighborhood Watch program to include focus on business and industry. The JCF's Community Safety and Security Branch will be starting a Farmers and Business Watch program. Head of the branch, ACP Gary Welsh, says they'll also be strengthening partnerships with the church, youth clubs and women's groups to build safer communities across the island.
We are going to expand our offerings through the Neighborhood Watch program to build capacity of watchers, not only to come to meetings, but to enhance their skills in conducting security surveys. And they might want to do this on a personal level or otherwise. But we believe that empowering people is the first step towards creating safe communities.
ACP Welsh says the Community Safety and Security Branch has also created a tourism unit to carry out special policing initiatives in tourist towns.
So we're looking at the divisions of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Kingston, St. Elizabeth, as areas where we're going to enhance our policing delivery with our tourist interest in mind.
And finally, residents and visitors to Trenchtown's Culture Yard can now see up close a life-size statue of Bob Marley, the community's most famous son. The statue, sculpted by Trenchtown resident Shade Cole and commissioned by the Tourism Enhancement Fund, was unveiled Sunday as part of activities to celebrate Bob Marley's 70th birthday.
From a tourism perspective, people always talk about the fact that people are now looking for more than just sun, sand and sea. And look, we know that we have some of the best sun, sand and sea in the world, but the fact of the matter is that Jamaica has so much more that the more we can put it out there, it puts us on a different platform from everybody else. So we at the ministry are committed because it's a necessity for us. It is important for us to preserve our culture and ensure that it remains as it is.
The unveiling of the statue was followed by a community symposium titled Trenchtown Culture Village From Vision to Reality. It included presentations by Culture Minister Lisa Hanna and social enterprise experts such as Dr. Henry Morgan, chairman of the Agency for Inner City Renewal. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Stacey Ann Smith. Thank you for watching.
Join the fight. Quit smoking for life.
Matters of the heart seem to be trending this week. Yep, Valentine's Day is this weekend. But what are you doing about that other all-important heart that's so critical to our survival? It's Heart Month, and the Heart Foundation of Jamaica is offering some vital tips. Get your notepad, pen, and start writing.
We know that obesity, a high body mass index, a high body fat is associated with more than 50 different diseases. Heart disease being our nation's #1 killer. We need to challenge ourselves. We just eat too much. We eat too much sugar. We eat too much salt and we eat too much fat. We're consuming too much of these nutrients in excess, especially sugar and especially salt. I think there's more awareness now with fat, and we know to eat the healthier fats in smaller amounts. But we need to focus on the other nutrients. We need to focus on daily eating and what to put into the diet. The most important foods to put into the diet is fruits and vegetables. Do not choose fry. We consume too much fat if it's in fried food. Try and eat less processed food on the plate. So choose food like the ground provisions. Choose something that's baked, broiled, oven roasted, not deep fried. We have to start thinking of food as medicine. Daily, I said, we need to eat vegetables and daily fruit.
The Ebola virus is transmitted through direct contact with an infected person's blood or other bodily fluids like saliva, urine, stool, and semen. Symptoms of Ebola include sudden fever, intense weakness, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat. This may be followed by vomiting, diarrhea, and rash, and in some cases both internal and external bleeding, leading to death. Protect yourself. Avoid travel to Ebola-affected countries. Avoid contact with infected persons. Don't touch the body of someone who has died from Ebola. Wash hands frequently with soap and water and use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. To know more, call 1-888-663-5683.
Jamaica has joined a global initiative called BOLD to determine the prevalence and impact of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, on the island. The survey is in its final stages, so if you see the researchers out in the field, don't shy away. Participate. Here's why.
They say the average person takes between 17,280 and 23,040 breaths a day. How many times a day does the average person think about taking a breath? Hardly ever. Breathing, much like eating, is one of the many life-sustaining functions of the human body. But unlike eating, breathing is a mostly subconscious act. We don't have to think about it to do it, and so we hardly think about it unless we have difficulty doing it. Well, think about it. Not the act of breathing, but what could prevent you from breathing properly and what that might mean for your quality of life. Breathing is quite simply the process of inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide from our lungs. Doing this regulates our metabolism and key systems in our body, including the nervous and circulatory systems. Certain diseases can cause this life-sustaining function to become impaired or dysfunctional. One of the biggest perpetrators is what's called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a dangerous yet preventable condition.
That the obstruction to airflow that you get, you don't have to get it. It usually by the air pollutants and cigarette smoking. Normally, all of us should be able to blow out 80% of our forced vital capacity in a second. When you smoke, that your ability to do so is compromised. And as we grow older as well, your ability to do so is compromised. So if you get older and you smoke, then you are in for even more of an impairment in your airflow.
Not only is COPD preventable, it's irreversible. So once you develop this disease, there is no cure and little to no improvement. In fact, your response to respiratory medicines is one of the key indicators used to diagnose COPD.
If you are asthmatic, there is a significant improvement after administering salbutamol. If you have COPD, that improvement is minimal. COPD has taken on increased significance because we recognize it as a disease that is associated with significant morbidity, and according to the World Health Organization, by 2020 will increase to become the 5th leading cause of death worldwide.
With that daunting projection facing us, Jamaica has joined a global initiative called BOLD to determine the prevalence and impact of COPD.
BOLD is an acronym for Burden of Obstructive Lung Disease. It's an international project out of the United Kingdom.
The local BOLD study is being done across the island in a number of communities that were randomly selected through a method developed by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica.
They randomly selected 84 for the BOLD study. So we're all over. We have about 15 in Montego Bay, over 15 Kingston, St. Andrew and St. Catherine. Of course, that's where the bulk of the population is. We're going right through the country. Westmoreland, Portland, St. Catherine in the hills and the valleys.
In all the areas, 2 distinct groups are invited to participate. 18 to 39-year-olds are asked to complete a questionnaire which explores different aspects of their history, such as smoking habits, the level of exposure to pollutants, time lost from work, and lifestyle impacts of any breathing condition they might have. Data gathered, including age, height, weight, and their identity, is never revealed.
Confidentiality is very important when it comes to research information. So because of that, we do not produce their names or where they live. That is kept confidential, so they go by numbers.
In addition to the questionnaire, persons aged 40 and over get a chance to do a free test called spirometry to determine if they are suffering from COPD.
What it really is a test of lung function. It tests by your ability to how good your airflow is, how well you are able to take a deep breath in and exhale forcefully. Just perform the test for us to the best of your ability so that we can get the information as accurately as possible.
Data collected will not only form part of the Global BOLD survey, but will also inform our government's policies and legislative changes to improve the health of the population. The survey is being carried out by researchers from the University of the West Indies and is jointly funded by the National Health Fund and the UII Principles Initiative Fund.
If you're at risk for this disease, chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, wouldn't you want to know?
I would like for the persons who have lung problems to seek help early so that we can help them to get over their lung problems.
It's a bold mission for all of us to know and avoid this preventable, non-communicable disease, COPD.
You've heard how crucial and necessary the BOLD survey is, and we're again encouraging you to cooperate with surveyors that may come into your town or community as we all work to create a healthy and, in turn, wealthy nation. We shift things a bit right now as we deal with some energy matters. The Prime Minister was recently in Washington, D.C., meeting with investors at the 2015 Caribbean Energy Security Summit. By all accounts, it was a fruitful venture.
The startup and conversion of more efficient, less expensive energy production plants to boost growth potential and jobs is high on our national agenda.
And in keeping with this mission, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller led a team to the 2015 Caribbean Energy Security Summit in the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C. from January 25 to 26. In a bid to arrest the island's energy challenges, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller went on an investment-seeking mission to Washington, D.C. for the Caribbean Energy Security Summit.
We urged the U.S. government and private energy sector to grasp the opportunities that abound in the Latin America and Caribbean region at this time in relation to regional energy security.
And the Prime Minister's calls were answered. Jamaica secured 90 of the $700 million investment budget of the United States Overseas Private Investment Corporation, OPIC. The island's drawdown from OPIC's investments in clean energy projects has already started. Come June, OPIC, through Blue Mountain Renewables, will start a $43 million 34-megawatt wind project. The Jamaican and U.S. governments will also work together on projects to facilitate commercial renewable energy on public lands and to develop and integrate clean energy projects across the island. While on Capitol Hill, Prime Minister Simpson Miller explored greater partnerships with Jamaica's friends, meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus, members of Congress, the IMF and State Department representatives. She asked for support of Jamaica's long-standing call for action against human trafficking, particularly trafficking in children. The Prime Minister said this would become a key focus for Jamaica now that the U.S. and Cuba have agreed to re-establish diplomatic relations. But even as Washington engages Havana, Mrs. Simpson-Miller encouraged an early and total lifting of the trade embargo.
We're of the view that this courageous step will ultimately contribute to peace, stability, and prosperity in the Caribbean region, in the USA, and beyond, particularly when the unilateral embargo against Cuba is finally lifted.
At a meeting with lawmakers, Prime Minister Simpson-Miller thanked the Congressional Black Caucus for their vital and unrelenting support of Jamaica. Noting their push for the island to secure an extended fund facility with the IMF, she updated the group on the country's steady progress in improving its economic and social standing. And this, Mrs. Simpson-Miller said, was the reason it was a perfect time to invest in Jamaica.
And I want to invite American investors to visit with us. Indicate to me when they're coming, and I will take the time to meet them.
A day after those meetings in Washington, Mrs. Simpson-Miller was in the Costa Rican capital of San Jose for the third summit of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC. The Prime Minister joined regional leaders to discuss ways to end poverty and crime and deal with the issue of climate change. Held over 2 days, the CELAC summit galvanized the community's will to address issues affecting middle-income and small island developing states.
These include financing for development, the adverse effects of climate change and natural disasters, transnational organized crime and drug trafficking. I'd like to urge us to take clear decisions on these issues.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller added Jamaica's voice to growing calls for a united front in the fight against poverty. She argued that poverty alleviation could be achieved through expanding trade and production, investment and job creation within the 33-member grouping. As such, the Prime Minister called for greater partnerships in the fight against hunger while commending CELAC for its action plan for hunger, poverty and food security.
Such partnerships are necessary if we are to raise the millions suffering within our community out of the hellish state of poverty. We have a lot to gain if we commit to building together and to learning from each other.
And with the re-establishment of relations between the U.S. and Cuba,
I also look forward to Cuba's full participation in the Summit of the Americas in Panama this April, which will be the occasion of all 35 countries of our hemisphere to move away from what divides us and pave the way for us to be restored as a strong hemispheric family of nations.
At the bilateral level, Mrs. Simpson-Miller pledged Jamaica's assistance to Costa Rica in developing a strong local government and municipal system.
Give me some of your rice and beans. Give me some of your rice and beans. Give me some of your rice.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller's assignments to the U.S. and Costa Rica were largely successful, as Jamaica not only secured support for its energy sector, but also strengthened relations in the Latin American and Caribbean region.
Did you know regular physical activity controls your weight, reduces your risk of cardiovascular diseases, reduces your risk for type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, reduces your risk of some cancers, strengthens your bones and muscles, and increases your chance of living longer? Get active, get fit, stay healthy.
Tried the fruit I cannot hide to keep you satisfied. True love I now exist is the love I can't resist. So jam by my side. Ooh, yeah.
Yes, it's Reggae Month and we're proud of our rich history of creating a musical genre that is celebrated globally. We continue to laud all our entertainers who have proudly represented the people of Jamaica. Still, we recognize that while some have had crossover success, it's been a challenge for others. So we put the question to you. How can local reggae artists capture international audiences?
Stick to them roots, stick to them culture, what for us, we have to gravitate towards our own things, Leave what belongs to the next side of the world, to over the next side of the world, Make it be one self, make it be one people. People are trying to mimic Jamaica, everybody wants to be Jamaican, so why you want to be somebody else which you are not?
What is happening with a lot of our artists now is that they're running for the money and it's a fame thing and working with what persons want them to do and not what them really want to do.
Well, I believe and know them need to stick to them root because the American, even if them try reggae, them still can't come in the line like the original reggae artists them. So we Jamaican, the younger artists them need to stick to the root of reggae.
I think you have some really good young artists. I would advise them to find their own little thing, find their own little corner, find their own niche, because they are brilliant in their own right.
Well, I think the best thing for young artists is to make good music, because I'm a testament of that, because I've been around from Salfisha, Shinglouse, and I'm still here. People, you still see the young and the old relate to what I'm doing. It's because it's good music. And like the word say, good over evil every time.
I just think we need to just be more focused so we can move forward, and the time is short, so we need to do it quickly.
There's a saying that you can be a big fish in a small pond, or you can be a small fish in a big pond. And so the world can be your stage. And I think that unless our artists, the present day, the younger generation, recognize that it's a journey, and it's hard work, and it's discipline, and it is not thinking that you have already arrived, but as you achieve more and more, there is a responsibility to be that much more, to work that much harder.
Government health centers and hospitals have an adequate supply of paracetamols like Panadol and Cetamol to treat the chikungunya virus. Paracetamol in the public health sector is free of cost. For more on chikungunya and the medication, call the Ministry of Health toll-free at 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683. Mondays to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Open your eyes. Look within. Are you satisfied with the life you're living? Said the great Robert Nesta Marley. For many of us, there are simple things we can start doing to make our lives better. What of those resolutions you set last month? Don't let it be like last year and the year before, where you get sidetracked. Begin anew and make the changes, whether in your health or any other area. And in the meantime, be sure to send your feedback on our programs by dropping us a line at jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. And smartphone users, remember to download our free JIS News application by visiting Google Play Store. Search for Jamaica Information Service and click on download. On behalf of the hard-working production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching and do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.